Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we did just get some Italian industrial output data come in at 0.3 tenths. Actually, that was the prior. The current one is actually down 4 tenths. Let's see here, with the prior up 3.10. So actually, Reuters poll for was a minus 0.6. It came in at minus 0.4 or 0.2% improvement.
The total deposits have fallen a bit, 591, spot 5 billion down from 1.
We do have, looking into today, we do have UK GDP coming up at the bottom of the hour. Reuters poll is going to be for up 0.4 tenths. And of course, in the States, it's Veterans Day, so bonds are closed. We do have actually, that's going to be it. That will be it until we roll into the Asian session. We are seeing the euro come off a little bit off of its lows here. I don't know what the hell happened there. Hang on, don't on it. There we go. But we are seeing the euro come off a little bit off of its lows here, but actually very, very quiet trading. Let's see here. Also, after crude pretty much gave pulled back to the 61% after all those gains on Friday, all the way down here to about 56.42, I think it was. We're kind of pushing up here against some resistance here in crude oil. Of course, the dollar index, after that pretty good strong run here, and you can see this area of resistance coming in. We actually had this as one of our resistance areas last week, which is 19, I think it's 98.43-ish. But still, the dollar index is still holding up very, very well. Winds are still relatively weak. Obviously, you can see crude starting to come off of these lows here. And gold, after having quite the dip. But with the Veterans Day holiday, banks closed, we could be expecting to see a light session as we come into the New York time zone. And let's take a look. Then tomorrow we have employment out of the UK, German zoo at 5 a.m. Eastern. And really, other than Business optimism, which is a really very low tier data. Nothing to get in the States. That would be tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we have German CPI. UK CPI, Eurozone industrial production. Then we do get core CPI on Wednesday here in the States. So with that, we'll go on and take a quick look on the news. It is fairly light today. Says the dollar hovers near 3.5-week high amid cautious optimism on tariff rollbacks. The dollar held near multi-week highs on Monday and amid optimism that the U.S. and China would roll back tariffs that have hurt global growth. The dollar index against a basket of 6 major currencies stood flat at 98.32, just off a 3-week high, 3.5-week high at 98.40. Officials from both countries said late last week that a rollback of some tit-for-tat tariffs had been agreed as part of a preliminary deal, but still has to be finalized amid the ending of the trade war. Even though that was subsequently denied by President Trump on Friday, he did not completely rule out a deal, and U.S. benchmark treasuries held above a key support level at 1.9. Trump has left the door open to some rollback, said Rodrigo Catril, National Australia Bank in Sydney. The market has latched to the idea that there's definitely the prospect that something will be done. Everyone is looking to the price and the improvement in the global growth outlook. He had to point out that the future improvement was further supported by an altogether positive earnings from the U.S. companies. Against the euro, the greenback was little moved at 10.23, reflecting some investor caution that the deal could still unwind. Versus the Japanese currency, the dollar slipped to 109.03. Buying kicked in reports that the Hong Kong police opened fire and hit at least one protester. A fresh escalation of violence as anti-government demonstrations enter their 6th month. But the end is still not far from the 9.49, its 5-month high mark on Thursday. The Chinese yuan weakened amid fresh violence in Hong Kong, where police and live rounds of protesters with cable TV and other media reporting at least one person being injured. Disappointing economic data also hurt sentiment toward the yuan as China producer prices fell the most in more than 3 years. Trump has claimed China wanted a deal more than he did. Looking at recent Chinese data, I think he was telling the truth, said a Forex trader in Tokyo. Prior to the opening, the PBOC set the midpoint on the yuan at a fresh 3-week high of 6.9933. The yuan's decline on Monday followed the straight gains, 5 straight weeks of gains, and the longest winning streak in nearly 9 months, supported by the rising hopes the world's 2 largest economies could strike a deal to de-escalate trade tension. With the U.S. on holiday for Veterans Day, focus is likely to be the news on the headlines. British economic data due later on Monday, and a rate-setting meeting of the New Zealand Central Bank later in the week. Britain's economy has lost momentum this year, has hurt by a global turndown due to the U.S.-China trade war, as increased uncertainty over its exit from the European Union. The latest poll shows the Conservative Party's lead is widening. The Commonwealth Bank of Australia analyst Josh Caperso said to note, if this trend continues, sterling will edge higher in the near term. So let's go on and move into the analysis. And bear with me, just trying to get everything all set up. As I mentioned, I'm doing the analysis on the bias chart. No, I mean the MacBook. Hang on. So since the euro closed lower each session last week, clearing out dispirited bulls, critical support comes in at 99, or actually, I mean 994, which is a 61% of 879 to 1180, confluencing with a 2-hour level of 993. Support is resistance is going to be 1047. A daily close above 1075 is needed to reignite the bulls. A close below 977 opens a challenge to 879. So we're looking at 994 for support. And resistance is going to be 1047. There we go. Well, you can see here, we're just barely holding above support. We do have this support level, but we, for today's support, we have 994, which is 61%, confluencing with a support level of 993. Like I said, we may not be testing that as as we see a quiet day here in the U.S. Let's go and move into the cable. So cable saw its momentum turning negative, finishing the prior week on the lows, allowing for a potential challenge to 2643. Initial support is going to be 2743, followed by volume support at 2667. Resistance is going to be 2846. So as I mentioned, same thing here with the cable, where we saw this market continue to weaken here throughout the week. And as I mentioned here, take a little bit here on the 2-hour. So we're looking for initial support on this market, coming in at 2743. And resistance is going to be 2846. We'll move into the dollar CAD now. Okay, the Aussie Sid Black at the end of the week, prior week, incapable of securing a daily close above 69 even. Bulls first test will be 68.31. A daily close below 68.18 turns the momentum negative. Resistance is 69.14. A daily close above 69.44 opens a challenge to 70.27. So, as I mentioned, it slid back at the end of the prior week, and once again, we just simply were not able to go in and take out the 69 cents. So we'll see how we start out the week, but certainly right now. First test we're going to be looking for potentially would be this 68.31. With resistance is going to be 69.14. Now let's go move. We do have an RBNZ this week. Let's go move into the Kiwi. Says the Kiwi's momentum has turned negative, closing successive sessions lower the prior week. Support is going to be 62.88, followed by 62.42. Resistance is 63.89. So, and you can see here, each passing day was a negative low, negative close. It was just successive lows all last week, just, from the get-go, each successive low being a new low here on the Kiwi. So we're trying to find a little bit of support here, moving a little bit higher ahead of the RBNZ. But as I mentioned, support is going to be 62.88. And resistance to key level, which is 63.89. And with that, we'll go move into the dollar CAD. So the dollar CAD closed above 32.12, the 50% of the recent range, and turning momentum clearly bullish with the door open for a move to 33.09. The initial resistance is going to be 32.69. Support comes in at 31.82. So, like I said, we were able to go in and secure that close on Friday above that 50%, 32.12, and we got on our way. And first initial resistance. There's some resistance here at 32.36, but the real test beyond that is actually going to be, as I mentioned, 32.69 with the potential to 33.09. So, but obviously a good level here at 32.36. But resistance we're going to have is going to be once again 32.69. And support coming in 31.82. Onto the dollar peso. The dollar peso closed the week on the lows and is open to challenge 1892 with secondary support at 1882. Resistance is now 1916.5. So we're pushing up here against the resistance. But you can see the difficulty this pair's had, and we'll actually go and take a look here on the 2-hour. It continues to be slapped down. Actually, it's something else for them to actually start to move higher at the start of this week. But like I said, it's just been each run at 1923.6 has just been slapped away. So we're not too far away from resistance. It's going to be, once again, 1916.5. And for support, we're going to go with, at least for right now, 1898. Onto the dollar yen. The dollar yen closed the week just under the pivot of 927. Momentum remains bullish. Initial resistance beyond the pivot will be 964 with a daily close at 927. Opening to challenge to 1050. Support is going to be 878. So we'll put our support at 878, which we had before, and the resistance beyond the pivot would be 964. And you can see how many times we've made this stab at the pivot, and we're actually just below 109. As I mentioned, we did see a little bit of demand here with the yen, with a little bit of an escalation in violence in Hong Kong. Let's go move into the cash dollar index. Here, the dollar's weekly close above the level of 97.89 has negated the bearish outlook of the last 2 weeks. Resistance is now 98.65. A daily close above this level reinstates the bullish case, opening the challenge to new highs with the first test of 99.11. Support is going to be 98.11, followed by 97.89, that breakout area here. So for right now, resistance will be 98.65, and if we do get a daily close above that, that opens up in terms of, takes it from getting rid of that bearish picture to it, making it outright bullish. So resistance will be 98.65. With support today at 98.11, followed by that breakout area of 97.89. With that, we'll move on to the cross rates. And we do have some UK data coming out at the bottom of the hour. So it says the New Zealand yen finished the week near the lows, turning momentum negative. Support comes in at 68.72 with a potential move down to 68.25. Resistance will now be 69.64. So let's go and put that in here. Now let's go move into the euro yen. The euro yen succumbed to the downside pull after back-to-back gravestone dojis earlier in the week. Initial support is going to be 1970, followed by 1948, and resistance will be 2112. So you can see those back-to-back dojis during the week right here, and then finally we just started going to slide back. As I mentioned, initial support is going to be 1970, and we moved down all the way to 1948. So 1970, let's mark that off. And resistance at 2112, and we've got that UK data coming out. Comes in at 3/10, 3/10. Rose published for 0.4. Not that much of a change here in the cable. We'll push up a little bit of a bid. Now let's go move into the euro odd. The euro odd continued to lose momentum after breaking the trend line at 61.50. The pair has positively tested the key level of 59.92. Resistance is now 60.95. You can see we actually made a tag on that with support back at 59.92. A daily close below 59.92 will send the pair 100 pips lower. So once again, as I mentioned, resistance is 60.95. You can see that we've already tested that today. And support remains at key 59.92. So, relatively tight session for today. So the euro kiwi is going nowhere. A result of two weakening currencies. Support is 73.09 with resistance at 74.68. Well, there's not really much of a change here. You can clearly see that with the euro kiwi. And as I said, two weakening currencies battling it out with who's the weaker, the euro or the kiwi. So we're just going nowhere. And so as I mentioned, support's going to be 73.09, which is much lower than we were last week on Friday. With resistance at 74.68. Let's go move into the ASEAN. So the Aussie yen is on a Jekyll and Hyde bullish move. Each up day has been followed by a successive down day for the last 8 sessions. The pair pulled back from Friday's resistance of 75.62. Support test for the next week will be 74.47 with immediate resistance at 75.31. So resistance will be 75.31. And support 74.47. But you can see each last week, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, all last week. And actually it's been that way for a little bit, but you can see that clearly having a tough time. But yeah, can't deny that it's still remains bullish, and why I call it a Jekyll and Hyde bullish move. We're going to move into the guppy. The guppy finished the week on its lows after a very tight range for the week as sterling pairs are losing their recent gains. Resistance is 40.14 with initial support at 39.21, followed by 38.68. So we're looking at 39.21 followed by 38.68. We're going to go and list both of them just in case we do get a little bit of a slide momentum garnered. So bear with me. And resistance will be 40.14. But you have to give it its due. It certainly remains bullish at this point. Actually, one of the strongest of those sterling pairs, but obviously a lot of the pairs have done better against the yen itself. And we'll go on to the sterling odd. The sterling odd has spent the last 2 weeks on a downside drift. To start the week, support will come in at 85.11, which is a 38%, followed by 84.59. Initial resistance is 87.17, followed by 88.01. The bulls will need to recapture 88.54 on a daily close to reignite the upside momentum. And there we go. So once again, we'll go in and go with that analysis. And you can see the 38% there. So it says the sterling odd has spent the last 2 weeks on a downside drift. To start the week, support comes in at 85.11, which is a 38%, followed by 84.59. Initial resistance is going to be 87.17, followed by 88.01. Bulls will need to recapture 88.54 on a daily close to reignite the upside momentum. So let's go and put in those resistance levels. And support 85.11. And let's go and take a look at some of the other markets. We are seeing U.S. yields stronger here at 1.94. Boy, what a move we've seen here. And we've seen crude also turn around and pop right back up. After moving higher to 56.88 off the lows, we turned around, made new lows at 56.44, and now we are here at 56.70. So bit all over the place here for crude, although we did go and see this market slide back from Friday's stronger close after we made it down here to the 50%, turned out and made a rally all the way into the close, and now we're pretty much giving it back. Rallied up here to about 56.85, rolled back to new lows and come right back. The other market we're going to take a look at also is going to be gold here. We've seen quite the fall here in gold. Haven't paid that much attention to it. Actually, as I told you, probably turned out to be the best thing it did. Although you can see here we had this nice bit of a hanging man, although the wick isn't that long. And then from there, we've seen successive lows here. Potentially, I think that we mentioned, I remember, matter of fact, here we are. We did come down there. I remember that level being key, 1457.58, I remember, and I remember 1448. So it looks like we did make it down there. And we are getting a little bit of a bounce from that area. Also, bunds continue to remain on the weak side overall. And I'm a bit surprised this hasn't been more supportive for the euro, but you can see here, look at this fall. And that led the turnaround in the euro, but the euro, once again, has continued to slide back. So we've seen, like I said, some good downside drift here in the bonds, but it has not been helpful to the euro whatsoever. That's what we have today. I do expect a relatively quiet session. With the Veterans Holiday here in the States, bonds will be closed. I should say futures will be closed, so and banks closed. So that's what we have for today. Very, very light activity going beyond what we had in the UK data. So good luck trading all, and thanks for joining here on the European Crossover webinar.